You know, we were at 4x3 for a long time, and then we went to 16x10, and then 16x9, and we've lamented ever since. And then we started moving into new sizes like 21x9, which a lot of the media, like a lot of the movies and stuff, are shot in 21x9, and games look really good at this. But have you ever tried 32x9? Would you try 32x9? So let me know in the comments. I'm curious, have you ever tried it? And let me know if you would try something this wide. This is actually one of my favorite aspect ratios for just pure gaming. You know, we throw around words like immersive and stuff. It feels really immersive. Thanks to Whokeys for sponsoring this video. Now these are OEM Windows keys. That means that you do your own tech support. You're not going to be relying on Microsoft, and they're generally locked to the hardware. We got a coupon code. Click on buy now. Put in coupon code TS25. Hit apply, and that price comes down. Now when you compare that to the outrageous prices from Microsoft, you'd have to buy this many times to equal the price of one regular key from Microsoft. As of right now, this Windows 10 Pro key will unlock Windows 11. We also have Windows 10 Home. Windows 11, you can buy it directly, Windows 11 Home, and we have 2 flavors of Office. Once you're finished, all you have to do is click on your user account up here, go to your user center, click on My Purchase Orders, just View Keys and Codes, and you can just copy and paste your key, hit Start, type Activate, click on Activation Settings, paste it in there, click on Next, and you will be activated. So head on over to Whokeys.com to get yourself an OEM Windows key at a price that makes sense. So we're going to look at the INNOCN 49-inch slightly curved 49C1R. The curvature is R1800, and when something's this big, you need the curve so you can like be really in there. And it doesn't even feel like it's that curved because it's so wide. It's 49 inches, but that's measured from one corner all the way up to the other corner, so it's just really wide. It's kind of like two 27-inch 1440p monitors put in there side by side. And you can run it that way. You can go into the options and say, hey, run this as 2 monitors, and then all of a sudden you've got 2 2560 by 1440p monitors, and you can just set them up. You plug them up, 2 separate things. You can have 2 computers hooked up to this one monitor and have each of them with their own thing on different screens. Now altogether it's 5120 by 1440, so it's bigger than 4K in one direction, but only 1440p in the other. Now I'll talk about how I feel about that in just a second, but let's keep going through the specs here. We do have HDR 400, and I turned that on, and as long as you have it on here and on in Windows, but it still looks better than not HDR for a lot of different things, so it does look pretty good. Let's finish going through the tech specs. This is a VA panel which gives you better blacks than IPS, but sometimes the color's not quite as good, but this one looks really good, especially with the HDR turned on. So some people prefer VAs just for those better blacks and better contrast. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll check out the ghosting in just a minute, because that's usually the thing about VAs is they're a little less expensive, have better blacks, better contrast, but sometimes more ghosting, and we'll do a test on that in just a second. The brightness is 400. With the HDR off, the brightness is 320 nits. Refresh rate is 120 Hertz across the entire thing. It's got ELED backlighting, and I didn't really notice any splotchiness or any weird spots. It looks pretty good to me. Contrast ratio is 3001, and we do have a VESA mount on the back. It's 75 by 75. The stand itself is a very solid piece of metal, and it actually looks decent, but it's not like, no frills when it comes to like LEDs or anything like that. We do have some adjustments on the stand. You can slide it down and up 95 millimeters. So you have a lot of lifting height, which is great. And it's a tall stand, so you can like really bring it up so that it's not going to have your neck looking down. And if you have like, I don't know, some reason to like put it down, well, you got 95 millimeters to mess with. You can tilt it forward 5 degrees, backwards 15 degrees, and then we have 15 degrees swivel on the left and the right. The connectivity, shall we? We have HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 1.4, then we have Type-C that also does 65 watts of power. Above and beyond that, we have 2 USB Type A and a USB Type B. We have a hub built into this, which is pretty cool. If you're using the USB Type C, well, it'll provide, the signal to your monitor, and it'll also allow you to use the USB hub. So I've got my mouse and keyboard and stuff plugged in directly. I've got like a wireless thing. I'm sitting way back in the back while I'm filming, but I was able to plug up my little wireless dongles to the monitor itself while only using USB-C cable, and that's it. Now the USB-C cable on this is kind of laughably small. If you have a desktop monitor, if you have a desktop computer and this monitor on the same desk, they might be fighting for real estate, but if it's behind it, maybe it'll reach, but the USB-C cable itself is not even as long as the monitor. So if you got a computer on the floor, you're gonna need a different cable, or just use like a DisplayPort or whatever. The weight is 11.5 kilograms. The gross weight, it's absolutely disgusting, is 15.6 kilograms. That's everything all together. The dimensions are, in millimeters, 1,198.54 millimeters by 565.86 millimeters by 286.77 millimeters. That's including the base. And the power consumption is 70 watts to 180 watts depending on what's going on. We do have adaptive sync as well, and that works with your G-Sync and everything else. So if you want that, refresh rate that's locked to the output of your game, the frequency of your game, well, turn on adaptive sync. We got your picture-in-picture, and you can use this to set up picture-in-picture with a bunch of different modes for that. You got 65-watt reverse charging, which is really cool. If you want to plug this up to a laptop with USB Type-C and then plug the monitor up to the ground, you'll be able to power and charge the laptop through the USB-C. You also have your low blue light control. And last but not least, you can go on and turn in some gaming modes and stuff and like put on the crosshair in the middle of the screen and all that. All right, let's actually talk about the monitor now that we've gotten through all the specs. Oh yeah, the response time on this is 6 milliseconds. All right, so let's talk about playing games on this. Yes, it's a thing of beauty. I really like this for strategy games. This aspect ratio is really, really cool for, well, number one, strategy games, because you can see just so much of what's going on in your game at the same time. It's like literally like having two monitors side by side put together with no bezel in the middle. That's the beautiful thing. And then for playing games like RPGs and stuff, I mean, just look how cinematic it looks. It looks so awesome. I love having a monitor this big for gaming. So yeah, it's playing, I think I would prefer playing RPGs and stuff where you have the whole battlefield and stuff like Baldur's Gate 3 where you can see all the different enemies and see what's going on and be able to rotate and see so much at the same time. And yeah, you're just right in there with the action, this giant thing. You do want to be back a few feet from it because it's big. You don't want to be like right up on top of it. You're going to get dizzy with all this stuff moving around. So just think about that. And when it comes to other games like first-person shooters and stuff, as long as you're sitting back a little bit, it's really awesome. Now, when it comes to productivity, let's talk about that for one more second and then we'll go back into gaming. I don't really like this for productivity because it's just not tall enough. It's weird. Okay, I'd almost rather run it as two 1440p monitors when I'm doing productivity, but that's a pain to have to go and change that all the time. So yeah, it's a little bit weird. I mean, you could get really creative and run custom resolutions and, I don't know, set it up so that you're like basically doing SLI or whatever. But yeah, I kind of like running it as two monitors better because having, opening up a window, opening up Word or opening up your Firefox or whatever, and having it span across the entire thing and then shrinking it down and you got your taskbar spanning across the entire thing and like, it becomes a bit tedious. I used one of these similar to this, not as good as this one, for about a year. I loved it for gaming, but when it came to productivity and everything, it was just too wide and didn't have enough vertical real estate. So if you're going to be doing a lot of productivity, this is not my favorite monitor, but if you're doing a lot of gaming, it's one of my favorite aspect ratios and it's ridiculously cool to game on this. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ghosting. And I always play dusk when it comes to ghosting. Dusk has all these hard edges so you can really see. Now the ghosting is interesting. So here's how I get these pictures. I take pictures that are faster than the refresh rate on the monitor, so you're only seeing one frame at a time. I'm shooting at like 1/60th of a second. The monitor refreshes at 1/20th of a second, so that's what we got. Let's see here. This is the ghosting situation. So it's like as I'm moving my camera, like I'm swinging my mouse this way, you can see right here, that's the original, and then there's another one right there. So that's the ghosting situation. You have this weird green image. That's the first one. So as we go, yeah, we've got this, the green is slower than everything else, like the dark green and everything. So that's very interesting, and you'll notice that as you're moving around, there'll be like a little bit of green here and there. It's not bad compared to a lot of the other VA monitors I've seen. It feels pretty good, but there are very pronounced, things right there. I guess it's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's a bit weird. Like the green is lagging behind the others. Look at that. That's wild. That's so vibrant. Gray to gray, no, I want to know what the green to green is. But when you're running around, a lot of times it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to say this is pretty good for a VA panel and better than a lot of the VA panels I've seen, but you're definitely going to see a little bit of ghosting. Do you notice it? Well, at 120 Hz refresh rate, maybe a little, but not too awful much. If you're playing super fast FPS games, the only way to really get around that is to get like a giant OLED, but it's getting better. I feel like VA panels are indeed getting better. It's not quite as good as IPS panels, but it's pretty good. The green is weird. So, and I didn't notice it too awful much while I was playing the game. But, once I was finished playing the game and I looked at the images, I was like, wow, that green is slow. It's all dependent upon how sensitive you are to these things. But I do think it looked really good. And yeah, I would highly recommend this, especially if you're someone who games more than you do anything else. If you're gaming a lot, Yes. There's one other weird caveat, like sometimes you'll get a game like Elden Ring, for instance, which you can play single player, which I played single player, and you open it up and it just locks to 16 by 9 and you have all this extra space on the side of the screen and these huge bars on the side, and it's annoying. You can mod that. So with that game, you can mod that. Shadow of the Erdtree, you can mod that out. A lot of games that lock you to 16 by 9, I was able to mod out. So it's not that big a deal, and even a lot of the older games, like super old school games, even Daggerfall and Morrowind and all kinds of old games, I've been able to play those at 32 by 9 just fine after, modding. And there's even some games that you're not supposed to play, like console games. But yes, you can get Tears of the Kingdom running at 32 by 9, and oh my god, it's ridiculous. Like, this is how you should play this game. You shouldn't play it on a Nintendo, you should play it here. It looks better, it runs smoother. If Nintendo just made games for like computer and other consoles, I guess we wouldn't get the innovation when it comes to weird controllers and stuff that Nintendo does, and the Switch was pretty cool, but god, it would be so cool if they released their stuff as PC games and we didn't have to emulate them, but we gotta emulate them and it looks beautiful. Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway, yeah. Now when it comes to watching movies and stuff, okay, 16 by 9 shows and movies, you can watch one on the left screen or one on the left side of the screen and do stuff on the right side of the screen. If you want to just focus, well, you're going to have some huge bars on the side. That just is what it is. It's going to be the same as a 27-inch or about a 27-inch 1440p screen. That's what it feels like. Yeah, whenever you're watching 16 by 9 content, it's just like a 27-inch 1440p screen. Now, when you're watching other like super widescreen stuff, a lot of movies are 21 by 9 these days, and a lot of shows are also 21 by 9. That ultra widescreen, you're still going to have black bars on the side, but it does look better. However, some things, like take a look at this Blu-ray here from Blade Runner. Now Blade Runner, it's shipped with letterboxing built in, which is kind of annoying. So then we've got letterboxing in two different directions. I rendered it myself and cropped it. And when you render and crop, then it'll fit the screen much better. So this is the rendered cropped version of Blade Runner. But yeah, some Blu-rays and stuff, if they have the letterboxing built in on the top and bottom, and then it's going to letterbox on the sides, and it's weird. So when it comes to watching shows and movies and stuff, it's weird. When it comes to doing productivity and stuff, maybe a little bit weird. When it comes to gaming, it's ridiculously cool. And I generally like to go watch all my shows and stuff either while I'm on the treadmill with a screen in front of me, 16 by 9 screen, or on the couch while I'm having some food or something. I'll watch a show. But I don't think I've ever watched a show like sitting in my computer. So it's not something that bothers me, but let me know in the comments if that's something that you care about. Watching media, watching shows, and all that sort of thing. But if you're just gaming, it's ridiculously awesome. So let me know what you think of this 49C1R from INNOCN. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're not familiar with them, I've covered a few of their products now, and every single one has been really nice. I've liked them. They're all high quality and made well. So yeah. Before we go, head over to epicpants.com. 50% off all of our desk mats and mouse pads with the coupon Happy Mouse. These are not messing around. They're premium, and honestly, I gotta get rid of them. All that stuff over there, I gotta get rid of it so I can move. So yeah. Anyway, get over there and get them. I wouldn't be selling these things at half price unless I needed to clear up my shelf space. That's where I'll put it, because I don't like the fact that they're such a low price that yeah, I feel like I'm undervaluing them. We got some other stuff for sale as well, so head over there and get yourself a keyboard and a mouse. Everything else, epicpants.com. See you in the comments. There's also low blue light control. You also have your low blue light. Why was I having so much trouble saying that?